Said it before, but whether you are an artist manager or an artist, it has never been a more exciting time to be in the music business. But there are so many options and so many choices. You could be an artist or a manager waiting to get noticed or wanting to get noticed. You could be an executive looking to learn about other areas of the business. So the Music Managers Academy is the business of music taught by the music business. Our first 3 editions covered publishing, platforms, and getting noticed, been watched by over 40,000 people so far. Today, we're going behind the scenes to talk to artists, their managers, agents, and lawyers. And then later in the series, we're going to be moving on to entertainment law, working with brands, live streaming and touring. And then finally, we're going to be looking at mental health and well-being. The content is virtual, it's live, it's fireside, but we also want to hear from you. So please, please, please do get questions in for the speakers today. Get them in live, and we can we'll ask them if we have the time. After this session, there's a meet the speaker session as well, but you have to register for that. It's getting pretty full, but it's on the Music Managers Academy site. Finally, as you will have noticed by now, the Music Managers Academy is free to attend. That's really important. And that is 100% thanks to our sponsors and supporters, our partners that include YouTube and Believe, plus support from Dolby and Steinberg Protocol. So thank you for joining. Please enjoy, please learn, but please, as I said before, get your questions in. Help me out by asking some great questions to some of our speakers. So on to today. Who needs a manager? Surely in this era of DIY, an artist can do it all themselves. Well, to be honest, if there's anyone in the food chain that's even more necessary than ever, it's an effective artist manager and the team behind the artist. If you've seen from the previous 3 episodes, a lot of people were talking about how important that team is around the artist. The manager is seen as your parent, your business parent, your planner, your campaigner, the one who connects the dots. We've said this before, but if you think you can do it yourself, why are you here? Switch off. Anyway, so later today, we've got Emma Banks, Caroline Chow, and Gurpreet Singh, a fantastic lineup. To start with, we have 4 brilliant speakers. We have Wendy Ong, Regan Lethbridge, Ed Shapiro, and Vivian Lewitt. But we are going to start with Wendy, the global president of Tap Music, and a very, very well-known music manager. Wendy, welcome to the Music Managers Academy. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Jasper.
A bunch of questions first. Who are you? Where are you? And who do you work with? And finally, what do you tell your family you do for a living?
Okay, so first of all, my name is Wendy Ong, and I am originally from Singapore. So Music Matters in my heart is the best conference ever, and I'm completely unbiased. I've only ever worked in music, and I actually started my career in Singapore many years ago. We won't count how many, but Singapore, Hong Kong, New York, and now I'm in LA. I spent a large chunk of my career working at the labels. It's quite funny, but I actually started doing new age jazz and film soundtracks in Singapore. So, very popular genres, as you can tell. After I moved to New York, I was primarily doing a lot of rap and hip hop, which was also really weird because I didn't really grow up with those genres in Singapore, because back then a lot of it was actually banned or censored or just didn't get any radio airplay. So fast forward now, after stints at multiple major labels, I ended up at Rock Nation, which was my first foray into artist management. And that's actually when I realized that I was a much better fit for management than for the labels. And I can explain why later as we get into it. And for the past couple of years, I've been at Tap Music, and I absolutely love it. We manage the likes of Dua Lipa, Lana Del Rey, Ellie Goulding, Hailee Steinfeld, Noah Cyrus, Dermot Kennedy. And my latest client, which I'm very excited about, is CL, who is um, she's a bad bitch from South Korea. She's amazing, incredible. I love her.
That's fantastic. Well, congratulations on landing CL.
Thank
So
you.
what do you tell your family you do for a living?
I think they get it now, but when I first started in Singapore, it was obviously very, very frowned upon. Um, being Asian and being a woman, my parents had the traditional jobs lined up for me. And when they found out that I was going to be in music, they just thought that I worked in bars, I think, promoting music or something along those lines. But I think now they have a pretty good grasp of it because I think they know like my job is to help make someone's music dreams come true. Does that make sense? I think that's in a nutshell. That's what my parents understand.
And I mean, you're right. I mean, I'm in Singapore as well, but this is a global broadcast. But in Asia, music is not a cool industry, right? I mean, yes, kids are encouraged to learn instruments and what have you, but then it's kind of you're shuffled off to be a doctor or a lawyer. And I'm really not talking
Right.
general. It's true, as you said yourself. But so, and you said it's to inspire dreams to come true. But how do you define your role? What does a good manager do with an artist?
I think that a good manager is a true partner in all sense of the word. Like, I think that when I don't know, like I honestly think that as a good manager wears so many hats, from doing marketing to the touring aspect to figuring out creative alongside the artist. But I think what's important to understand is that at the end of the day, a good manager can only be successful if their artist is successful, and that's financially, artistically, creatively, in all ways, frankly. So I think that there are different managers that offer different types of partnerships, but I know for a fact, having looked at different management contracts from different companies that I've been privy to, at TAP, I know that 100% is a true partnership.
Fantastic. And so what advice would you have? I mean, we've got artists joining today and we've got young managers joining today. What advice would you have for the young managers to start with, based on your wonderful experience of 1 or 2 years, clearly, but based on your wonderful experience, what advice would you have for young managers who want to succeed in the business?
Well, the first thing is to read Don Passman's book, All You Need to Know About the Music Business. I kid you not. Like, I think that is the basic, like you gotta know what's in that book and understand it before you can really even attempt to have a good grasp on anything else. And frankly, that is how I hire my day-to-day managers as well. So there's a difference, right? There's the main manager, and then there's a day-to-day manager, and the day-to-day supports the main manager in all areas and does the more detailed minutia, the promo stuff and all that. And the artist manager is the more strategic one. So I think like reading that book is like one, important. I also think that just really immersing yourself in the artist world is really important. I really try to, it's easy to just kind of, especially with the whole pandemic, that just kind of hunker down and keep to yourself. But to be honest, like a really good way is to talk to people and get out there. And especially now that rules are loosening up, it's important to really build your network and, not just talk to other music managers, but talk to everybody, similar to the panel of people that you've assembled today, Jasper. I think that that's how you learn. When the way went about it is a little different because I started on the label side, and so I understood the marketing aspect of things, and that was my background, doing international marketing, and then I switched to marketing in the US and ultimately global marketing. So I understood that part of it, and then it's really once I switched over to the management side, I started to learn more about the legal stuff and the touring and branding and everything, all the whole 360 of it, I think.
So final question before we move on to Regan, but
Sure.
There's a lot of, I said there's a lot of managers watching, but there's also a lot of artists watching as well. And one of the questions they're always asking our speakers in the academy is, how do I get noticed? And I know that's a really tough question to answer in a but if there was just one answer, is there a shortcut to getting noticed?
I don't know that there's a shortcut. I mean, I can be really boring and say like, yeah, make good content, get it on YouTube, get it on TikTok. But to me personally, as somebody who really loves music, it starts with the music. So I think that you gotta have the right song, the right producer. If you have some, if you don't start with that, I just don't know how long you can continue along that trajectory, because you could become a TikTok influencer if you don't have good music, and you still be famous. But to be a real artist, to be successful, it starts with the music. And I think that if you have good music and you talk to the right people, that's how you get noticed. It sounds very simple, but yeah.
It was a tough question and a very good answer. Wendy, yeah. You're gonna get whisked away into a virtual backroom, but we're gonna see you again at the end of the session when everyone can ask questions to all the panel and stuff. So thank you so much for joining. We're going to go from Los Angeles all the way to Australia, where we're going to meet Regan Lethbridge. Regan, the co-founder, director of Lemon Tree Music, Lonely Lands Agency. Same question to you. Who are you? Where are you? Which artists do you work with? And what do your family think you do?
Hi, Jasper. My name is Regan. I am in my office in Kingscliff in New South Wales, which is just north of Byron Bay in Australia. I work with artists like Tones and I, Tash, Sultana, Budjerah, Pierce Brothers, Maddie Jane, a bunch of incredible talent out of Australia that we try and take to the world. Everything that we do has a very global focus. And I tell my family that I'm a music manager. I just try and keep it just super simple and just we're the people that kind of join the dots into helping bringing the artist vision to life, which can be, in some instances, crazy big visions about taking over the world, and in other instances, they just want to live off their music, and that's success to them. So we're very fortunate. We've got a great team, and I've got my business partner Dave Morgan and a bunch of incredible staff that help basically bring everything to life as best we possibly can, making lots of mistakes along the way, but having fun doing it.
So Regan, where did you got a really interesting story? I mean, where did it all start for you?
In New Zealand, obviously I'm a Kiwi. I started playing with a few friends, and we came across to Melbourne to try and give it a crack as a band. We played professionally for 7 or 8 years, and Dave, the bass player in that band, is my business partner and co-founder of Lemon Tree. And from there, I just fell into the agency world of being an agent. So booking gigs, clubs, festivals, and that's how I met Pierce Brothers, and then met Tash Sultana, and I did that for 5-6 years, and I dipped my toes in management and found that was my biggest passion, and I still love it. It still gets me out of bed every day, and there was a busking background there as well. When we got to Melbourne, we busked a lot, so there's no coincidence that a lot of our artists on the roster are all buskers, because I just think the work ethic's there, and they just want it that little bit more. And we've just got this special, I don't know, we just really respect buskers and their drive, and we just love working with people that just want to go the extra mile. And the work ethic's got to be there, and obviously the songs, but you need to have that drive as well. Yeah.
That's absolutely fantastic. I do think, now I may be wrong, but I think you're probably the first former busker I've ever interviewed. So we're going to have to create a whole segment called Busking Matters. And what was your first big break? I mean, getting into management and stuff. What was your first big break?
I mean, definitely Tash. Obviously, we came on board in the very early days. There wasn't a song out, and obviously there was a big viral thing on Facebook, and it took off on YouTube. And I guess that was the stars aligned in terms of timing. And we really got some great experience in the booking side of things, and obviously self-managing our own band. And as I said, made a lot of mistakes along the way, and just put all that knowledge into, right, we've got something here that could go global, and live is everything, and it's all about the song, and how can we join those dots and really set up those teams to help make that happen. So yeah, Tash was definitely the first break, I guess, we got, and from there, obviously, Tones and I, which is just it's been a phenomenon. It's just been incredible. She's an incredible artist, and that was hanging on for dear life. We still are, to be honest. We're only 3 years in, and we co-managed that with Jackson, who's an artist only, and yeah, it's a crazy world, and you just work as hard as you possibly can for your clients, and do the best possible job you can. And obviously, there's been a bunch of challenges with the pandemic, but at the same time, there's never been a better time to write and record and release as well, because everyone's streaming consumption is going up. Obviously, everyone misses a gig, but we've just looked at it like it's an opportunity instead of sitting around twiddling our thumbs, and then hopefully everyone can get back out and see each other next year. We're itching to go again.
Fantastic. And I know that Australia is starting to open up, as is hopefully the rest of Southeast Asia and Asia, and beyond. But talking about management and that team that the artists build around them, how would you define your role within that? Now, I know that you run a business as well, but let's just talk specifically about artist management. Where does the manager fit?
So I'm more of like the strategic setup person. So I'll put a team around an artist from the early days, help out with a lot of the earlier deals. Just basically you're essentially the point person. It's like an A to Z of what it's all encompassing essentially. And then we've got a day management setup, as Wendy said just before, which they're integral cogs of the wheel. And we've got people that help with admin, and obviously you've got the labels and the publishing. So you're essentially the point person that basically helps bring everything to life, and you coordinate with the wider team. And it's pretty complicated. As a good friend always says, it's not rocket science. If you've got the right song, you can do anything.
We once had a U2's manager, Paul McGuinness, came to Music Matters probably 15 years ago or so. And one of the great insights he said was never, ever work harder than your band. I mean, this is U2's one of the biggest bands of all time, but their manager said never work harder than your band. Do you have any advice for young managers who might be watching this today about how to go from 0 to 100?
Firstly, never give up. You're going to get told 100 times no, and then when you get that one yes, you've got to turn that into something, and you've just got to look for ways to create opportunity and build those relationships, and just get out there and get busy, get your hands dirty. And just don't be afraid to try stuff, try new things, and just find a team, find a community, and get everyone swimming in the same direction, and you can achieve anything. But I think it's fine, finding that artist or band or whoever it may be that you just connect with, not only on a musical level, but you need to have that. You need to get along, obviously. And have that mutual respect, and just get out there and give it a shot. And as I said before, make a lot of mistakes, just don't make the same one twice, and just never give up when you feel like you're gonna, you're at the end of your road and you're 6 years in. Just think you could be on the cusp of doing something incredible, and then all those years of experience of getting to that point you can put into that client when things do break. And it's just a super exciting industry, and the more bright sparks from around the world that get involved in it, the better. It's such an exciting time for our business.
It's certainly a very cool job to have. But going the other way, how does an artist find a great manager?
I don't know, just the best way, the old school way, is just get out and play and fill those rooms. Start really small or go busking and make as many people stop on the street as possible. Just get that word of mouth chatter, because no matter how much marketing you put into something, word of mouth is always going to be your best friend. And get a vibe and get a reputation for being the person that sells out these rooms, or it's just a phenomenal live player, or collab with other artists that have got producer friends or something, that we're just get your song out on DSPs and get your music out there as much as possible. Just say yes to everything, basically, especially in those early critical phases. You end up saying a lot more to stuff down the road, but in the early days, I think just get out there and just enjoy it. It's music.
Regan, same as Wendy, we're going to see you again in a minute, but you're going to get whisked off into the virtual back room. Thank you so much for joining us from Australia today. Up next, we're going to go. I think we're going to go to New York. We've got Ed Shapiro, who is a partner in Reed Smith, and the lawyer, very much lawyer to the stars, an old friend of Music Matters. Ed, thank you so much for joining. You are in New York at the moment, where I know I've been saved a little bit by I think the clocks are changing, but are you in New York at the moment?
I am.
You know, so thank you for joining us at night. Ed, for the people who don't know you, who are you? Who do you work with? What do you do? And what do your family think you do?
I should work backwards on that one. Let's keep that a secret. So I'm a lawyer in the music business primarily, and I've been doing this for about 30 years now. I haven't done anything else professionally. Clients range from artists that you've never heard of, or maybe you have, small artists all the way up to the Rihannas and Jay-Z and Grimes, Bella Poarch, SZA, Normani, Anita, Bon Jovi, a ton of people. So that's the hit list, I guess.
And you work for Reed Smith. I mean, you work for a global law firm. But what is the role of a lawyer within this team that fits around the artist?
Yeah.
How do you define the role of a lawyer?
I'm going to speak from the U.S. perspective, because it's quite different in many areas of the world. In many areas of the world, the lawyer is the last person to see a deal. The paper gets pushed under your door with no windows and says, "This looks good, check the box." But in the U.S., the lawyer is part and parcel, a key substantive member of the team, with the manager, with the business manager, who's the accountant. And then you have an agent after that. But, you're there, you have the relationships like the managers do. You have as close, if you're a good lawyer, as close of relationships with the A&R teams, the executives at the labels, the music publishing companies. So, you're an extra spoke in the wheel. You're not an afterthought, which is the way I like it.
And within that, so we've got managers and artists watching the sessions. Coming from the legal perspective, legal side, what advice do you have for young managers who are trying to get on in this world? And similarly, what advice would you have for young musicians from a legal perspective, trying to get on?
Well, look, I'll differ with Wendy. I mean, you don't need to buy Don Passman's book. I don't have my own book, but just don't sign anything without a lawyer. That's rule number one. I don't care if you're a manager or you're an artist. Look, the artist thing it's kind of what McGinnis said. It's like, when I meet a new client, I can't want it more than they do. And sometimes I get the feeling that I see something in them that they don't even see themselves. It's really difficult to work with an artist that way. So for an artist, I always tell up and coming artists, you're literally one move away from getting on the stage, literally. Back when I first started, if you were Adele, let's just say you were Mariah, if you had that voice, that was your ticket, right? If you had fantastic songs, that was your ticket. That's not the game today. And unfortunately, I can name half a dozen artists that some of us may have seen on TikTok and elsewhere that are unbelievable, but that's not it. right. So I think today you have to be firing on all guns, and you're going to be better at certain things. Some people might be better at their social media presence. Some people may be better at songwriting. Some people may look better if you're chasing this pop thing. Some people might sing better, but wherever you're strong, you should focus on your weakest elements and buffer that up, because inevitably, if someone gives you a name or gives anyone a name of an artist, what do we all do? We all go to Google. We Google that name, and up comes everything about that person. It's incredibly hard to hide today. And I'm gonna find exactly what's their weak part. Oh, wow, man, they're streaming really great. But then you look at their social media and it doesn't match. First question I say is, what's going on there, right? Same thing in the reverse. You might have incredible social media numbers. And I go over to Spotify and where are the numbers? So there's something not connecting, right? So it's hard to be objective when you're the artist, but I think sometimes you have to kind of step away and say, where are my weak points and what can I do to help that? Not to sell yourself out, but just to get yourself, just that much more exposure.
I mean, it's fascinating hearing someone, you say, a lawyer who everyone would think, well, you just hand them the contract at the end of the negotiation, but you really do get involved in the whole process, right?
Oh, I mean, I can go through examples, but Normani's first hit, I didn't write it. I put it together. She wanted to meet someone, and I was like, wow, that would be pretty cool if you worked with this person. I made the setup because I had the relationship that was better than the managers. Not just I knew the person more, and we kind of had a team huddle about it. And I said, yeah, let me make that call. And sometimes the manager has the better relationship. So in a good team, we're all working for one thing. We're working for the quarterback, which is the artist and the CEO, and we're trying to just achieve whatever they are trying to achieve. Not my view, and we're trying to achieve their view.
So you're sharing their vision with them, right? When does it work from a legal perspective, from a lawyer's perspective, not legal, from a lawyer's perspective? When does it work?
I'm always amazed. I'm always amazed when people on the other side don't see what I see. But when it works, everything is firing. Whether if you're doing a brand deal, the brand understands who your client is. The brand understands what you're asking for and why you're asking for it. And there's a real understanding going two ways. And to be fair, I have that type of relationship with labels and publishers and brands. But I have just as many, and I'm sure, there are a ton of examples of where, that connection only lasts until the deal is done. And that's really unfortunate, because it's really depressing and frustrating when you see that it was just a play to get someone signed. And then, this is inevitably going to end in a very bad way.
And then from a lawyer's or from your perspective of being part of that team, how can you help get an artist noticed? So as I say, that artists are always asking me, how do I get noticed? How do I get noticed? So from a legal or a lawyer's perspective, and part of that team, how do I get noticed?
What I do, if I think I have the goods, the first thing I do is I'll say with my client's permission, I'll say, hey, I think you should be at we should talk to these three people. And that's what we did. I have this one client who's, I think she's 15 now, but she's unbelievable voice. And I said to her, she had already been kicking about for 2 years. Can you imagine a 13-year-old trying to get signed? And I said, why haven't you got signed? Oh, well, we tried this and that. I said, I think you're going about it all wrong. I put her in the studio with another client of mine who's a producer or songwriter. They connected, which is great. They made 3 tracks. I said, great, we're not going to play this for anyone. What we're going to do is something really unique. We're going to invite every major head of every major to come to the studio. It's the only way they can hear the songs. So that kind of built a hype, since I don't call them and ask them to do that every day. Pretty much never. So that they came to the studio, we had 3 offers immediately, but I had the artist, I had the voice, I had the songs, I had the whole thing lined up. And it really took a team to kind of figure out what would work for this person. Because if I told any label that she was on America's Got Talent, I wouldn't get a call back. But if I didn't tell them who it was, not a name, and all they got to hear was the music and the voice, I got them. Right. So sometimes you gotta work back. You gotta work, kind of different ways.
Now, not for now. I'd love that. The world is the music industry is moving into kind of avatars and NFTs and stuff like that. But are you guys getting involved in that area of the business?
Yeah,
it's got nothing to do with management, by the way. I'm just asking you.
No, 100%. I mean, I don't know if I mentioned I represent Claire. I represent Grimes, and so if you're following the NFT space, she had quite a successful launch, but it makes a ton of sense for her. I think the whole NFT run hopefully it's settling out. NFT to me is just another type of content and another vehicle to sell original content, but that's all it really is. It's nothing more than that. We do get involved, but I always tell my clients, and I caution them, don't make an NFT for the purposes of an NFT. Make a piece of art, and if it fits that format, right, of exploitation, then that's when it's going to work.
I'm writing while you're talking. So Ed, look, brilliant advice there. And thank you so much for joining from New York. Now we are going to have you back in about 10 minutes time.
Awesome.
But you, again, whisked off to the back room, and the final speaker today, who's going to bring it all together. We're very lucky to have the global head of artist relations for YouTube, Vivian Lewitt. Vivien, where are you today? And same question to you. Who are you? Where are you? And what's your role at YouTube?
Hey, Jasper. Thanks for having me. Where am I? I'm also in New York, like Ed. I've always lived in New York, though I have had 2 different lives of my career in the music business. I've always been in the music business, but I started out as a music lawyer, as an artist lawyer. So parallel universe to what Ed just shared with everyone. And then in 2011, I was ready for a shift and realized that I could have a lot of impact if I did something within an organization, not a label, where the paradigm of how artists access an audience and how artists connect with a fan was beginning to shift. You could see the writing on the wall. There was access, there was exposure. Someone earlier, I think maybe it was Regan, mentioned, you get in your van and you go play shows. And that's how I grew up in New York City. Club after club after club. Actually, I just moved to an apartment that is across the street from where I used to spend virtually every night, Monday through Friday. Saturday and Sunday were days of rest. And I saw that kind of thing was beginning to have a parallel universe online. And I thought, well, maybe I could take what I know about the artist experience, what they need, and see if I can work in a way that would scale that across an enormous number of artists versus the myopic sense of working on an artist by artist basis. I still miss that though. That's the one thing I miss in the last decade, is that kind of close proximity, because I kind of do sit across everything now. I've worked with artists that each one of the individuals who have spoken, I've worked with all of their artists while at YouTube.
So you work with the managers, you work with the artists, you work with the lawyers, you work with all
I work with the labels. Lawyers only when we're contracting for something, but that's not true. Every once in a while, an attorney will call me. We have a program called the Music Foundry. Actually, Lipa started in the Music Foundry like very, very early on in 2015 when we first kicked it off. And I had a lawyer call me a couple of years ago about an artist, in the same way that Ed was saying that he calls a record label or a brand. I had an artist, a lawyer call me and say, hey, this is an incredible artist. He was a kind of brand new, super cool singer-songwriter from Brooklyn. And I was able to do something with our Foundry program.
So I mean, you got an amazing title, global head of artist relations for YouTube. What does that mean?
I don't really know what my title means, but
yeah, what does it? Okay, I'm going to ask you what it means.
Well, I'll answer the question. What was your question? What do you tell your family that you do? It's interesting. My kids still ask me sometimes after all 10, almost 11 years of being at YouTube, what do you do? My husband is a music lawyer also. And so it's very easy for him. It was very easy for me to answer that question a long time ago. Now I think what I do is a number of things. One, I myself and through my team, we serve as the voice for what artists are looking for out of our platform, right? We're helping to make sure that the YouTube works the way that they want it to work, that it delivers discovery, promotion, revenue. So I'm kind of that voice. I help strategize the programs that we establish for artists, and then my team and I help evangelize the way to optimize YouTube best for the entirety of the artist community.
With you sitting kind of in the middle of all of them for one of the biggest platforms, if not the biggest music platform in the world, what advice would you give to young managers who want to succeed? I mean, they're always going to say, how do I monetize my channel? But what advice can you give to a young manager wanting to succeed?
Well, one, make sure you're working with an artist who you feel passionate about, and is going to give you the ability to have the kind of experiences that you need to succeed as a manager. Meaning, for a manager to deliver for an artist, there's so much to know today. Like it's harder than ever. I mean, Wendy, Regan, I think it's harder than ever to be a manager today. There are multiple platforms, there's social media, there's video, there's streaming, there's the question of how is my artist going to be most successful? And there's touring. I mean, question of how my artist is going to be most successful opens up the question of how many labels do I have to choose from? Do I want my artist to be on a label? Do I want them to be on a label in 2 years from now, but build leverage today? I mean, there's just like a plethora of decision making and strategizing. And I think that to be successful as a manager, it's hard work. And so you need to be 1000% behind and feel that passion for your artists. And then I think it's a lot of education. It's like a lot of getting your hands dirty. It takes a lot of effort and working long hours. I made enormous sacrifices in my life, my career early on. And I just think you have to have the experiences. You have to get your hands dirty. You have to make mistakes. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. Mistakes are going to be made. And if you don't make them, you're not going to learn. So be kind to yourself. It's okay if that happens. But just keep your nose to the grindstone. Make sure you know everybody. Make sure your contacts are strong. Make sure you can deliver opportunities for your artists. Try to stay above it.
Networking is important. There you go. So you need to be at Music Matters on the 23rd of November here in Singapore.
Yes.
When does it work? When does it when do you see your role really coming to success?
I don't know. My favorite thing still is when we have some kind of partnership or collaboration with an artist and their team that takes them to the next level, whether it's breaking a new song, whether it's breaking a new artist, whether it's, it could be Elton John. We've done some really cool stuff over the years. And Elton has a #1 with Dua right now, or last week, at least in the UK. So those moments that just kind of that break through and are super special. And it could be with an artist in any country, whether they're early stage or late. But it is an incredible feeling to break a new artist or to help be part of breaking a new artist.
And then final question to you. Now we're gonna go after this. We're gonna go to the panel. We're gonna have all the speakers back here. So people out there in internet land, in the World Wide Web, please get your questions in, and hopefully I'll be able to ask them. But final question to you as YouTube. if I'm a young artist or a young manager or both, what's the best way to get noticed on YouTube? Because there's a lot of stuff going on YouTube at the moment.
There is a lot of stuff going on YouTube. It's going on everywhere. I think the key to YouTube, well, I'm going to go back to, because I firmly believe in the notion that it does begin with the music. And it was, I think Wendy mentioned this earlier, I hands down, you can get yourself noticed, but your staying power is your music. And so that's number one. Don't upload something until you're full on ready. And it's the thing that you want everyone to see. It's your best foot forward. I think there's consistency. There's building a brand for yourself. YouTube is all about storytelling. I always like to say, like, back in the days when record stores were the way we discovered new music, and I lived actually across the street from Tower Records on 4th and Broadway in New York City. And the windows at Tower Records were kind of the key to the way in. And then there were all these point of purchase displays, which is you'd pick up what you wanted to buy, but then there was a stand that was right in front of the cash register, and there was a litany of music there, and it all looked appealing. And oftentimes you walked out with something else that you didn't intend to go in there and buy. And I look at YouTube as that, but it is your point of purchase display that you as the artist, manager, your label control. So you can create your own destiny on the platform. So in addition to your music, you can build your story and use YouTube in that way. And there's a multitude of features that I think today offer more opportunity for artists to do that with less friction. There's something called YouTube Shorts, which we've just launched a short form video in the last year. So there's a lot of good stuff in the weeds, but I think by and large, YouTube is a front door for you to create your own point of purchase display.
Fantastic. Well, brilliant insight there to finish with you, Vivien. Now, you're actually going to stay there,
okay.
And hopefully by the wonders of modern technology, showing my age, we're going to bring everyone back. Yes, it worked. Thank you so much. Very good to see you. Thank you all of you for joining. Now, this is a properly global session. We've got LA, New York, and New South Wales, and Singapore. So look, I'm going to ask you each a couple of questions. We've talked about success and how people succeed and stuff. I'm going to come to you first, Wendy.
Sure.
What have you seen are common artist or manager rookie errors when it comes to artist management?
Sorry, you cut out there. What did you?
Okay, so when it comes to artist management, what is a common rookie error? If I'm starting out as a manager,
A common rookie error.
A rookie error.
Oh my God. I think I'll answer generally. It is pretending that you know everything when you actually know fuck all. And I encounter that a lot in the business, especially with newer managers. And it's really dumb because if you're experienced, you can see right through it straight away. And like I saw Ed and Regan like nodding, and it's just like, if you don't know something, ask questions, like it's actually way, way worse to be like called out for pretending to know something. Like 9 times out of 10, like you're gonna have like a bad opinion or perspective because it's based on ignorance.
Regan, rookie errors.
Yeah, I would definitely say just never, be scared to ask questions. I think that's the main point. It's like you should never stop learning and growing and being a sponge until you're tired of the whole game. But I guess in the very early days, just saying, maybe being over, I don't know, you can never set goals too big, but maybe just keeping everything in check and being realistic about the steps you want to take and not kind of overshooting the mark. And I think a lot of people skip steps, and that's detrimental to a long-term career where you don't want to miss any of those steps and don't miss the certain venues or things you want to take. Essentially, don't be in a rush to the finish line. Essentially, just take your time and enjoy the ride and don't skip steps. I think is the biggest mistake that a lot of people do. They do the opposite, which is a shame.
How many artists do you meet that have a vision, and how many artists do you meet that don't have a vision?
I think, yeah, a lot of artists have got the vision. I think it's just, especially the creative side, and it's just your job to help bring that to life, I guess. Sorry, I just interrupted you, Wendy. You go.
Wendy?
No, I want to agree with you, Regan, but then I think that I found that a lot of newer artists, especially younger ones, they don't know who they are. And I find that part of my role is to help them figure it out.
For sure.
You know, they may have like grandeur illusions of who they want to be, but you know, sometimes it takes a partner like your manager or your lawyer to work with you to hone that vision to something that is more realistic and more authentic. And I think being authentic is the most important aspect of it, because that's how you thrive on social media, apart from how good your music is. But you know, like look at Dua Lipa, like she's a master at social media. And you know why she is? Because she's just herself. She's cried on Instagram live, like she just speaks the truth. And we don't manage her Instagram, like that's her platform. What you see, what she posts is 100% Dua. And you know, I think that, yeah, like I think it takes a little bit of time and having the right people around you to figure out where you want to go in life.
And Wendy, while you're still here, we've had a question from Emily Chin. As a musician, what should we look out for when working with an artist manager? I mean, I think we've answered a lot of that question through the session, but to you, Wendy, what should she be looking out for?
It's such a general question, but I think like apart from the usual things like, you know, who are the other artists that they manage and how successful are they? How many times have they been fired by a client, right? But I think what's important is chemistry. Do you vibe with this person that you're thinking about bringing on as your manager? And are they honest? Because, you know, I hate to say it, a lot of managers aren't always honest all the time. And you gotta find somebody who may be like that, but will always tell you the way things are. Maybe not all the time, but at the right time when you're ready to hear it. Like you need to have someone who is gonna be able to like level with you, because otherwise you're just gonna surround yourself with yes men.
So Ed, coming back to you from the lawyer in the team, not a legal perspective, but from the lawyer in the team.
Yeah.
What are the common rookie errors that you may have seen?
People going with bros and not pros. I mean, I tell people that all the time. It's like when you have a choice to go with your buddy who you went to high school with or a seasoned expert, your buddy can be there and watch every show. You go with the seasoned expert. And it's like, it sets people back because your bro could be a sister, a friend, a girlfriend, anyone. That could set you back, and they become, when you have a falling out with them, it's really messy. And so my point is always try to put together the best team you can. That's it. Like if you can reach a Wendy and she's open to talking to you, or you have a conversation with me and they say, man, I've been watching Wendy's career. Do you think you could? Yeah, let's go for that. All she can say is no, right? So what? But if someone like her or Regan says yes, and it's a good fit, my goodness, now you've opened up a Rolodex and an experience base that you didn't have a minute ago when you were going to go with your buddy from secondary school who was just going to be there for you and ride the wave.
We're getting so many amazing insights from all four of you. Vivien, same question to you there. From the person who sits in the middle as the platform, but what have you seen, any rookie errors that artists or managers are making?
This is tough because both Wendy and Ed have hit on the things that would have been first at the forefront. I I think the asking questions thing, especially when it comes to digital and technology, is really important. You know, I think stuff sometimes isn't fully understood. And I also think just like ignoring the details, you know, details do matter. Data, I hate to say it, the tech person in the room, but data does matter. Don't get caught up in the big picture. Look in the weeds and see what's there, because that stuff is really telling and can guide your next step, which might be the right step. And if you ignore that, then you're making blind decisions.
Thank you for that, Vivien. And it was unfair that we came to you last with that question, right? So I'm going to start with you. We've got the final question now for all of you, but we'll start with you, Vivien. Forget management, forget artists, forget the context of this session, but from a music perspective or a YouTube perspective or a Vivien perspective, what's really exciting for you right now?
I think the most exciting thing to me right now is just how much amazing music is out there, and how far it's traveling, and how much cross genre fading is happening. You know, I whether it's different music for different countries, whether it's, you know, there's this artist Kaskade from Japan. He's incredible, you know, and Billboard magazine's writing about him and a live stream he's done. And the genre bending, I think, is incredible. Guitars are coming back, and you know, at the same time I'm listening to Girl in Red, and then the next 5 minutes later I'm listening to Baby Keem, and I'm loving it all. It's a pretty exciting time in music.
Our ukulele's coming up. Okay, thank you so much. Now I'm going to jump away from this question very quickly, because one of our regulars, David Bonamy, has asked Regan a question. Apart from music and the voice, what do you look out for from a busking musician? That's for Regan.
Good question. I mean, I just always imagine. Yeah, you just want to imagine that, you know, you just want to stop the traffic. You literally just want, if you get 30 seconds with that person, no matter what kind of walk of life they come from, you want to be able to stop them in their tracks and just kind of take them away. And I guess it's just such a short window in time, and yeah, you just want to have those songs or something about what you're doing, the air of magic that you can't even explain. And obviously just a huge amount of drive and work ethic to go from busking, which is an incredible thing, to those next steps of all the challenging things of release schedules and travel and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I guess the main thing is you just want to be able to stop someone essentially, and just
stopping traffic. It's a nice answer. So yeah. while you're here, Regan, the same question back to you now is, what's really exciting in Regan world?
It's just the artists we get to work with day in and day out, the possibilities. I don't even think we've scratched the surface, and what's to come with the DSP growth and everything that's happening, and shows coming back next year. So from our point of view, just the music business in itself it's come into this incredible time where I don't know, there's just a certain buzz around and excitement, and there's 60,000 songs a day being uploaded to Spotify apparently, and it's just a nuts time to be involved and just hang on for dear life and contribute and make a positive change. Nice. Ed, back to New York. What's really exciting in Shapiro land?
Oh, well, I've got a client for Regan, so I got to hit him up in a second. But she's out of Dublin.
20%.
But no, for me, I think Vivien touched on it. The platforms and the places for exploitation distribution, it's really hard to keep up, right? And so I think it's really interesting, both for our older artists that are now have different channels to exploit their music and get more creative. We saw what they did during COVID, right? The meat of COVID in 2020, but also the newer artists that are coming in, they're breaking in ways that I've got to get up to speed on. And whether they're different platforms, I have a client that YouTube was on her first video was essential for breaking her. she's a massive TikTok artist, but I mean, YouTube brought it home, and that opened up a whole other world for her. So it's just incredible to watch how things can happen, which are not the ways it happened just a couple of years ago.
Fantastic. Wendy, the floor is yours. The final word. What is really exciting in Wendyland?
Well, I can tell you what I think is extremely exciting is that after the year and a half of Asian hate, it's ironic that what's really exciting is the rise of Asians in entertainment across film and music, whether it's Shang-Chi or it's BTS or Blackpink. I mean, you see this. I feel as an Asian, like we've been discounted for as long as I've been alive, and after all the violence and hateful rhetoric that we've all had to deal with, suddenly people are looking at Asian culture in a different light, and it makes me very, very proud to be Asian. And I really hope that this is the beginning of people recognizing that we have something to bring to the table.
What a wonderful way to bring this session to an end. What a wonderful message as well. So look, I have my usual notes, and I've written more notes on this session than I have for any others. There's the bellwether there, but some of the things that we came out with, and what a brilliant lineup. But do what you love. Be a true partner to the artist. Read All You Need to Know About the Music Business by Don Passman. Now I'm going to add something on that, Wendy. I'm going to say, or attend the Music Masters Academy. Immerse yourself in the artist, build your network, join the dots, understand the business, make mistakes. Now that's a common statement that people have made across all of the editions that we run is it's okay to make mistakes, learn from your mistakes. Busking matters. I love that. It's never a better time to be an artist, but don't ever give up, get busy. We talked about data matters. Don't sign anything without a lawyer. The artist is the CEO. We touched on NFTs. We're going to do a whole different session on NFTs and crypto and stuff, but don't make an NFT for the sake of an NFT. It was a great piece of advice. Be passionate. I think, Vivien, you said it was hard work, but you said hard times 5. Hard work. Get your hands dirty. Be true to yourself. Network. Ask questions. Set goals. Be authentic. Go with the pros, not the bros. I haven't heard that before. And I think that the final final word there for Wendy was Asia Matters, which sitting in the middle of Asia, love that. And for the last 27 years of my life, I've firmly believed in that. But then the final word, I think, goes to Regan. It starts with the music. And so with that, I'd really like to thank all 4 of you, to Ed, to Wendy, to Regan and Vivien. Thank you so much for joining the Music Masters Academy from all over the world, to everyone's laptops and mobile phones. Thank you for joining. Up next, later this afternoon, we have one of India's top artist managers. We're going live to Hong Kong, and we also have Emma Banks, the agent to the stars. And so we're going to rush off now to meet some of the speakers. So you need to click in the little button there to meet the speakers, and we can ask them some questions. And then finally, do not forget to tune in or join us live in person if you're in Singapore, November, all that matters, 22nd to the 24th live. So thank you so much for joining. Enjoy the rest of your day.